Yeah. Hello, and welcome to part 2 in my Ekans Hoop Hurl IRL saga. So, about a year ago, I had this idea that I thought it would be super fun to try and bring one of the classic Pokemon Stadium minigames, Ekans Hoop Hurl, to real life. Doing this with life-size Pokemon props, making it into a full-scale ring toss that you can physically toss the Ekans onto a Dugtrio, have a good time. And it went, good enough that I had fun. It was a pretty good proof of concept that this is something that A, people would get excited about, B, I was excited about, and it could work. So since that happened, this coming year I've actually booked 2 different conventions at this point to bring this game as an event to host at the conventions. So I do need to make those tweaks to improve some things and really build it out into a full-scale game. So that is what we're doing now. Okay, so there were 2 main problems with our original design, our original test sequence, and there was one was that our Ekans did not hold its ring shape very well, and the other was that our Dugtrio did not hold its Dugtrio shape very well. So I have solutions for both of these things at this point. First off, I'm going to be making 6 new Ekans for the new build is the idea. 6 is the goal, and each one of them is going to be built around an actual ring. I'm going to actually split, just kind of make a seam so that I can break it open, and it will be going inside, crocheting all the way around this full ring so that it has a lot of structure inside of it. Just from doing some test runs of my life-size Ekans tied to a hoop, it's looking pretty promising that is going to make a big difference, so feeling optimistic about this plan. The second thing being our Dugtrio, the new plan there is actually to just put a weighted bucket inside. So this is, hollow bucket. I can fill it up with anything weighted, rocks, sandbags, whatever is convenient. Slap a lid on it, and then the crochet will just be a cover that fits over top. There'll be a little bit of stuffing needed just right at the tip top, and I'm hoping that'll work pretty well. So now I think we just have to start making more Ekans, making more Dugtrio. So to motivate myself to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time, I challenged myself to do a standard 9-to-5, 40-hour work week dedicated exclusively to making these Ekans and Dugtrio. I posted an update each day in the form of a little mini vlog on all my social media, and so what we're seeing here is just a montage snippets of those clips. But if you are interested in seeing more of the process or hearing me think through the steps, you should definitely go and check out the whole series. Okay, so we are set up for Community Day anyways, and I got Hoop Hurl set up in the background for some trial testing. Alright, so let's take a quick look at the setup we've got here. So this Dugtrio up front is fully life-sized according to the Pokedex, but it does have a lot of the same problems we were seeing last year in that it has that tendency to bend backwards, not hold its shape. Making it that height does mean that it's significantly taller than the buckets I was able to source, so that poses a potential problem. For the Golden Dugtrio, I tried making it a bit shorter. Dugtrio do technically have 3 different heights anyways, so I'm hoping to minimize the problem of not having too much stuffing at the top that's not supported by the bucket. It's definitely an improvement, and I think it's worth using this as the design going forward for the remaining Dugtrio I have to make. I also brought my life-size Wiglet along for the day since I had it, and it's sort of part of the Diglett family, even if it's not technically the same species. And I figured this could be a fun challenge target to have at the back of the setup. The biggest risk here is just having the whole thing tip over. But with all of that being said, let's start testing it out. Even he got knocked over, the whole tub! Well, I guess we need a little more weight in that one. Oh no. Okay, so what I learned from today's test run, the people who were willing to play with me, is that this game is harder than I thought. I probably don't need to worry too much about making sure that it's challenging enough. Just getting a feel for what it's like to throw a plushy hoop that size. Like, it takes some getting used to, so people's throws need some practice. Probably people are only going to get to play for about 2 minutes is the plan right now, so the game being too easy is not the main concern. And actually the game being bigger than this may not be necessary either. I was picturing having it scaled out, going back even farther, having more Dugtrio all in one big game, but as I said, making it more challenging, having the throws farther than this, probably not going to go very well. We had Captain Still throw it as far as he could, and he didn't make it much past this grid. So I think we might kind of rejig the way we're playing this, and instead maybe have 2 or even 3 simultaneous games running. So ideally I will still make as many Ekans and Dugtrio as I had pictured, but if the timeline seems too short and I don't make them all, I think it's gonna be fine. Yeah, so we learned some things, we've got some fixes to make, let's talk about it back home. So it's been a while since that test run. I've done a lot, but let's chat about it. Okay, so the couple problems we had, we're talking about the one Dugtrio being too tall and getting caught and knocked over. So let's start there. Okay, so of all the Dugtrio I did end up making all of them the height of the golden Dugtrio that we had on site. I just thought it worked better. It was a little bit quicker to make. It looked better in some ways, actually. This guy was just too tall. He's got too much squishy mouth. So yeah, that's the big tall one. Everything else is that middle height. On the note of his funky face, I also worked out a slightly better system where I am now attaching that middle section to keep the fluff in as I go, instead of sewing it in after, which does help minimize the amount that you can see it as well. So that's nice. As for Ekans, just a little minor thing, but I did end up just tweaking the way I did it a little bit so that the tail comes around and to the side the way it attaches. This means that I actually got to attach the hoop back to itself in the middle instead of having the 2 ends free from each other. It is a connected hoop again, and we don't have that weird Ouroboros look. I wasn't digging that, and it seemed like a weak point. When we were throwing them, that was definitely a weak point that, like, it didn't rip, but for a whole convention weekend, I thought it might. So this should be a bit stronger, hopefully. Alright, and then the last little thing that I don't know if I actually mentioned out loud at any point, but even with the shorter Dugtrio, let me grab one. Even with these shorter ones, it was way better in terms of, like, not knocking over. Like, there wasn't enough to catch and tip backwards, but it still does ride up a bit when you just, like, pull a little bit. It was still kind of sliding off the bucket altogether. The bucket wasn't moving, but they might pull off. So that one was just a really simple little thing that I've changed, but put some double-sided tape right on the inside there. Easy peasy. It is not perfect, like, it doesn't hold crazy strong, but it makes a difference. Makes a definite difference. So hopefully it holds enough, you know? With that, we have 8 Doug Trio, we have 6 Ekans. The convention is in 3 days. We got 3 days. We're going to try and get 2 Ekans and 1 Doug Trio finished. I have a ton of like prizes and things I've made that I'm excited about. And yeah, no more test runs until we're just doing the darn thing. So I'll see you there. We are here! We made it! The games are set up, the games are ready to run, and here is how it's going. So we've got our 1-player, 2-player setup, and we've actually got 2 game modes running as it turns out. So on this side, we have 10 different objects all along. So we got the 4 Doug Trio, we've got 5 Diglett, and there's even a Wiglet there. So on this side, we're doing challenge mode, which basically means you get 10 throws, see how many you can get. And on this side, we've got the classic time trial where we're doing 1 minute, we're doing 2-player versus, and it's just getting as many as you can, with the Golden Doug Trio being worth the 3 pointers. It's just been so much fun so far. It has been wildly hectic. We have had a line non-stop the whole time that we've been running. Anytime we've been open, there's been a line. We've been turning people away so that we can take breaks. But you might already be able to hear in my voice that midway through Saturday, I'm losing my voice. So we'll hopefully make it through the weekend. And here's some clips from the rest of our games. Alright, that is a wrap on Hoop Hurl at Anime North. I've got my incredible team doing some teardown for me here. What a weekend! This was so fun. People got just as excited as I hoped they would, as excited as I would have been. We had some really impressive scores come through. Some really incredible players who topped both of our leaderboards. That was awesome. So much fun. Cannot wait to run it again. Okay, back home, fully rested. Let's debrief. So overall, the event was a massive success. It was so much fun, amazing reception. I loved the whole thing. We did learn some things about the durability of the props, so that was interesting. So any keen-eyed watchers might have noticed in all those clips of the game being played that as time went on, the Ekans were starting to look floppier. So as it turns out, a hula hoop cannot withstand just hours upon hours of being thrown and just colliding with things and bouncing. And so they broke. Every single Ekans that I brought had broken into at least 2 pieces of hoop stuck inside the crocheted Ekans by the end of the weekend. The worst one was broken into at least 5 or 6 pieces. So, our more competitive players were putting like that one aside. They were feeling through the different Ekans before going for like a record run. That was unfortunate. So I will be doing some surgery on all of them to remove those empty pieces and do some repairs and upgrades before our next event. The current plan is to wrap the hoops in a pool noodle before putting them inside the Ekans. So we'll see how that goes, and make sure you follow me on all my socials if you do want to see the updates on how that goes. The Doug Trio did pretty well. That one was actually fine. The main thing that we learned about the Doug Trio was that they actually each need to be weighed down more heavily to stop them from sliding, to keep them really in place. So they weren't flipping over, which was great, but they were you can see in some of our videos that the Golden Doug Trio was just kind of like running away with every round that we played. As people were aiming for it, if they missed, it would just get pushed farther and farther. So we need to weigh those down a little more. That's an easy fix. And that's about it. So there you go. Real life Ekans Hoop Hurl, built out full scale. I would love to keep bringing this to more and more conventions, and you never know, we have at least one more event booked this summer, and maybe one of these days we will be at a convention near you. So, do make sure that you're following to find out where we're going next. I would also love to make other Pokemon Stadium minigames brought to life in the future, so drop your favorite ones in the comments, and make sure you are subscribed to see what I come up with next. Until then, thanks for watching.